That is a good looking XJ, is it not? James is gonna poo-poo himself when he sees that. So there's a lot of interesting cars in this town, and well, it's just something I've noticed since being here. Everywhere you go, you see a lot of older vehicles that are actually quite interesting and in good shape. None more so than the vehicle we're going to talk about today. It was an absolute treat. Now, I've been up here in Montana for about a month. We'll talk about that in another video.
Go for it.
But today was just such an awesome day that I just felt like I needed to make a video about this because it was a cool experience and I wanted to share it with you guys. And essentially, I took the most fabulous car in NASCAR history to the greatest bar in America. Simple as that. Now, when I say I took the most fabulous car in NASCAR history, I'm not talking about the Jeff Gordon Rainbow Warrior of the late 90s, if you get that joke. What I'm talking about is a car that was more fabulous before that, the fabulous Hudson Hornet. And if you know anything about that car, or if you've ever seen the movie Cars, you'll be familiar with it. For most people, their first touch point in NASCAR is the Allison brothers Cale Yarborough fight in the, was it the 79 Daytona 500? But the history of the sport goes back so much further than that. And a lot of people get this notion of Richard Petty and the King, but even before Richard Petty's career, the sport was going on, and especially in the 50s, that's because the Hudson Hornet, the Hudson Motor Company, was like the first manufacturer to really involve themselves in the sport and support a racing team. And they fielded teams with a great amount of success during that era. And the car that they had was the Hudson Hornet. And if you've watched Cars, you'll be aware that that was the car that Paul Newman was the voice of. Awesome enough, friend of our family's, Peggy, her boyfriend Bill, has a Hudson Hornet, and he took us to the greatest bar in America, and we'll get to that in a minute. It's kind of being here and seeing that made me rediscover some love that I had for that and remembered why I liked NASCAR in the first place. So it was always easy for me to follow when I was on the road for work and doing all sorts of different things. You know, I couldn't keep up on 6 or 8 football games a weekend, but I could watch one race, and that race usually was always on Sundays, which was always usually my day off when I was on the road. So it was a sport that I really fell in love with and enjoyed, and as I got into it, like everything else, I nerded out about it and learned that history. Fast forward to today, we had the opportunity to get in the most fabulous car in NASCAR history, the fabulous Hudson Hornet, and take it to the greatest bar in America. This particular Hornet, well, she's not completely original. She's had some things swapped. The original Hudson Hornets had straight 6s in them. This one's been swapped for a small block Chevy V8, actually a 305, mated to a 700 R4 transmission. And it's smooth as silk. The other thing Bill tells me is that with that particular combination at about 65 miles an hour, he's getting mid-20s for fuel mileage, which is not bad for a behemoth from the 50s like that. I mean, I wish I could get that in my Land Rover, but I can't, no matter what I do. Riding that thing, there's something about cars, old cars from the 50s, that most people who have never ridden in one will never understand. I've ridden in mid-50s Bel Airs, and now this Hudson Hornet, and they are smooth as silk. In fact, this car was more smooth. Just have to wait that out. I've ridden in a few cars from the 50s, and there's something that you have to appreciate, especially the bigger sedans and bigger coupes. A friend of mine's grandfather had like a 55 and a 56 Chevy Bel Air, and both of those were just smooth as butter going down the road. And this Hudson Hornet, well, it was even better than that. And in fact, last Christmas, we did our annual Christmas deal where we rent a car off a Turo that my kid picks out, and this last year we ended up with the Rolls-Royce Ghost. I'm going to tell you right now, the Hudson Hornet, it's way smoother of a car than a Rolls-Royce Ghost. And you probably still can get one for less than a Rolls-Royce Ghost. That segues into our destination, and our destination was a place that, well, it's It's the best bar in America. And if you don't believe me, I'll put a link in the description below to the movie that says it's the best bar in America. It's called the best bar in America. Anyway, it's called the Jack. It used to be known as the Lumberjack. Back in the day, loggers like my dad used to run in those woods out there and always wanted a place to go sit down and have a drink and relax after work. Well, a friend of my dad's, a guy named Babcock, and his wife Mary Ellen started this bar. And it's pretty impressive because it is built out of the biggest cedar logs you will ever see in your life. And in fact, the bar itself is made out of a hollowed out cedar log. And if you look at the bar's top, you're gonna see messages that have been burned into that log's top over the years. Most of them that you're gonna see originate in the early 80s, but there's some since then. But it's just a testimony to the history of that bar. And it's a great place because it's not just a bar, but it's a place to go for an experience. They rent cabins. They literally have live music, all sorts of things out there all weekend long. They even have camping on site. So like you can go out there and enjoy this amazing cabin in the woods bar. And if you get f***ed up, you don't have to drive home. You can just stay there. They have a bonfire. They have all sorts of things. Going back in time, it was cool to go out there and listen to my dad tell stories about it because I'd never been there with him and he hadn't been to that bar since before I was born. So to go out there and see that with him was kind of impressive. And to bring Oliver along and show him more of Montana and him get to ride in the fabulous Hudson Hornet, well, it was just another dream come true. And that's what this place does for me, because this is my favorite place on earth, and having experiences like that are just amazing. It's been a long time since we've talked. I'm not gonna talk now, but bringing that full circle, do expect a update on the Land Rover and the channel going forward sometime in the near future. I gotta get back. I got some stuff to edit, but I just thought I'd share this day with you guys. So until next time, I'm Matt Kester. Be good.
Okay, we'll turn the key to the right and see if it starts. Oh, don't drag the start.
I don't like
Tap the throttle.
Is that it? No. You want to try it?
Tap it again.
What can you? I didn't do it. I don't want to break his car.
Okay, I'll do it then.